and it instantly turned to summer here. We are in full summer mode, it feels like. I am wearing shorts and everything, and it is hot. Not that hot. I mean, if you live in Texas or something, you'd call me a whiner. But anyway, so we're going to strip our LT motor down all the way today and get everything off that we don't need and put everything on it we do need. We don't have a harness and stuff yet, but we're going to just, we'll fit it and stuff without the harness, which is probably better anyway. Less chance of damaging it and stuff. Because we obviously have to mock this car up and get ready for this thing. So that's what we're going to do today, is get this motor all stripped down and look at everything and put everything on it that we need on it and take everything off that we don't need. So that's the plan for today. Just for fun, we got some comments on weight on this car. Weight's not super concerning on this car. We just saved a whole bunch of weight with this motor. I don't know what the weight savings is, going from Pontiac, iron-headed Pontiac, iron block Pontiac to an aluminum block, aluminum head LT motor. I don't know what the weight difference is there, but I imagine it's pretty substantial. We got comments on the doghouse on how much weight that added. I did all the math, square inches and stuff, and I weighed all the parts that are right here. And all said and done, including the lid, we gained 12 pounds with the console. So, yeah, it's 12 pounds. And it was obviously going to add weight. That thing had to be rigid, or the floor would be bouncy. And so if I built it light, I would have to build it, yeah, wife alert, 3,000. Ooh. Day fade.
Is this your bench seat?
That's the back.
Oh.
Pick it up.
I can't pick it up. What the hell's wrong with it? 93 pounds? Oh,
yeah. Hi. Dogs are here, wife's home, everything's happy. All right, so here we go. I'm going to just go ahead and just tear into it. We need to ship this computer back, so I'm going to pop it off of there first, and I'm going to send that back to them, to the guys, so they can program it for us. And then that's it. I'm going to just start taking all the hoses and stuff off. I'm just going to do that in time lapse, and then I'm going to take all the covers and that type of stuff off. We'll do all that in time lapse, and then when we start getting into the adding our accessory, our power steering pump, and taking off the vacuum pump and putting the block off plates and stuff on, I'll slow it down so we can see that. I am going to ditch the AC. Obviously, we don't need to see that. That just unbolts, pretty easy stuff. So here we go. So now for the fun stuff. We're on this side of the motor. We're going to take the oil cooler lines off, and I got an ICT billet block off plate. But for now, we're going to delete the oil cooler, mainly just so we don't get junk inside the motor. I probably will add an oil cooler back to it later, since we are going to be driving this thing in some pretty hot weather and stuff. We don't need to be cooking our oil. And then this is the block off plate that blocks off the vacuum pump, and there's a number of ways of doing that. You can actually use plugs instead, but the plate looks nice and it does it kind of in one nice clean shot. So that's what we're going to use on that. So first things first, let's do the oil cooler, and I'm going to set you up down there so that you can watch that. Okay, quick tip. So when you're putting the oil ring on an oval like this, you'll push it in there and it'll keep popping out, probably like that. And then no matter how many times you put it in there, it always wants to do that. So quick tip on it is to twist it this way and get it hooked, and then it won't pop back out. I hope that made sense. So you twist it like that just and roll it in, because what's happening is when you stretch it in there and roll it in, you're actually twisting it, and it's the untwisting that's making it pop out. It's not really that it's being stretched. It's because when you stretch it in there, it rolls this way and it wants to unroll, and that's why it keeps unrolling. Give me it. There we go. Okay, and now for the vacuum pump. It has its own little belt on there. The best way of getting it off is to cut it. It's not really the best way of getting it off. It's how we're going to get it off, because we don't need it. See, if we didn't put that pan there, it would have puked about 5 gallons of oil out. So if you decided to do the plug method, which is how the block would have came if GM had sent it, without a vacuum pump, they are threaded. They're threaded for an O-ring style seal, there and there. So that's how it would look if you get a block that doesn't have a vacuum pump on it. That's what would be there. And then you could also plug it that way if you wanted, but I don't like having all those exposed things, so we're going to do the same basic principle that we did on the back by putting this cover on it. So same thing, we'll Vaseline the O-ring, get it on. We'll probably have to give it that little twist like we did. There we have it. So now we'll zip off our motor mounts. It's red Loctite. They really didn't want those coming off. All right, there's our motor mount on and centered up. These aren't the nicest mounts in the world, but they are repeatable, so that we can recreate these if we have to later. They're just not very nice. They're not put together very nice. The weld's not very nice. I don't know how consistent they are. So I'm hoping that it's at least parallel. With this surface and the bolt center line is parallel. I don't believe it's going to be super centered. It's pretty close, but it's not perfect. So when we set these things up for sure, for real, we're going to go off these two surfaces, not off the slots or any. We're not going to assume that this is actually centered on both sides. You can see that it wouldn't actually slide all the way forward to use up the entire slot. It would hit the block, so that wouldn't work. But we do still have a significant amount of adjustment. I used the factory bolts instead of the bolts that came with it. The bolts that came with it were too short, in my opinion, to be screwing into aluminum. So I used the factory bolts. When we go to install this thing for real, I am going to put bigger washers on it, so it's grabbing that slot a little better. So anyway, so that's that. These are just trimmable to fit our situation, fit our new Crossmember. Let's get on going on the other side. We got our AC to take off and our power steering pump to put on. Okay, so now we got to take the AC off and the motor mount off. I got my belt removal tool. Okay, so to take the AC off, it should be I think it's just these two bolts. It out, and then we'll slide it off the stud going forward, and that's it. Easy. We'll save that because we may put AC on this car later, and our brackets will work with AC. It says in the directions. So now we'll just zip our motor mount off since we're here. Got a bigger impact gun this time. Now we have to take that belt off. We don't need that one either, but that one doesn't look too hard to get off. So I don't believe we can use that belt with our new system. Okay, so to start with, we do have to take all this stuff off. The directions are super simple to follow. Obvious step one, it just says omit it if you're not using AC, and we're not. It's for factory AC. We're not using that one, so we omit step one, and then we just move on. It's basically bolt the back bracket on, take this all off, bolt the back bracket on, bunch of spacers, front bracket, and then your accessories. So, well, sorry, your accessories, then your front bracket with the spacers and stuff. Really, really simple. So let's get going on it. Two bolts, and then it's on that stud on the bottom. Pretty simple. Our alternator is bad, by the way. I discovered it won't spin. So the car was hit in the front on the side. So I think that thing took a little bit of a whack. Okay, so the reason my alternator was stuck, a piece of the air cleaner, the air filter assembly that got broke, had fallen into it, and it was physically just stuck in there. Okay, so you're probably wondering why I time lapse to that, just for a sec, putting that on, and it's because you don't need me to show you how to do it. But I will tell you, it is crazy easy. It's ICT billet. Their directions are the easiest thing in the world to follow. I could have told you how to do it, and it would have been a waste of time, because when you buy it, you'll get those directions and you won't need to see what I did. But there's how it fits. It looks wonderful. It fit beautifully. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. They didn't give me that part. I paid full price for it, but honest review, it's really good. It fit beautifully. So as long as all the pulleys and stuff line up, we're in really good shape, and we'll find that out as soon as we get our pulley there, because I do have the belts. We just need that pulley. In fact, I will go check up front and make sure we don't have it. So now we're going to set this thing in the car. So we're going to take the Turbo 350 we've been using as a mock-up. That was the one we were going to use with the Pontiac motor. I have a better one, but it wasn't dual bolt pattern. So we're going to use the better one. So that means I'm going to take that one that we've been using for mock-up, which will bolt to this no problem. Is Unifit. We're going to take that thing. I'm going to pull the guts out of it on our table so that we have an empty housing, and then I believe I have two NP208 halves I can throw together so that we'll have a NP208 as well. So that'll make, that way we can just throw this thing in, because we're going to have to put it in and take it right back out again. I have a feeling we're going to cut our Crossmember out. So anyway, so let's get going on that. I got to go take that transmission for the Ford off that table. I'm by myself. I'm too lazy to bring the cherry picker over there, so I'm going to try to lift it off there, and hopefully I don't kill myself. And I cheated. I used a cart. I didn't want to have to set that thing down. Picking it up's no problem. Setting it down's a different story. When you pick up an automatic transmission, remember, always do it on the opposite side of the dipstick hole, or you will be wearing all the transmission fluid in it. I don't know how I know that. Maybe because I've done it a million times. I think I've learned my lesson now, but we'll see. I spared myself this time. car up, a cat would get off of it and he didn't want to stand up. What a weirdo. What a weirdo. Alright, so the plan now, I got the cross member up top. I'm going to put the suspension cross member in right now. And then we'll cut that cross member out. It is freaking hot. Man, I am sweating. It's 90 degrees. So it went from like 55 to 90 overnight. So I'm not used to it yet. Once I'm used to it, it's fine. But right now I'm hot. It would help if I drink some water, but that would take effort. So anyway, here we go. Put the cross member in. Okay, so Bob enjoyed his carnival ride. He had a lot of fun. So I got the top on. We still have our steering brace, which is going to brace it, basically replace this cross member for now. And then I put our transmission cross member back in, and then it's bolted to the body there. So I don't suspect when we cut this it's going to move. There's a lot of bracing going on. So it should be okay the way it's at. I'm not super worried about it. But we'll watch it when we cut it out. If it does pull in, we'll know. We'll have our piece that we just cut out, and then plus the blade width to reference it back, and then we'll have to brace it up another way. But I'm not even going to put bracing in it because I really don't think it's going to move much. It'll pull. The stresses in the frame right now will probably jerk. But I don't think it's going to move enough to be critical. So what we're going to do is just cut it straight off of the frame, the widest part of the frame, flat, and then we're going to weld a thick pad on it on both sides, and we're going to actually make a removable cross member there as well. That way, if we ever need to change pan or something in the field, we can, and actually very easily. With all our other bracing and stuff in this car, this brace, it'll be nice having a cross member there for extra rigidity, but in reality, it probably would be okay without it with everything else in place. But this is nice because we have a nice full circle here for the suspension, and that is ideal. So, but we will make that one removable. So while it's just sitting there and idle, we can take it out without having too many problems. Alright, there is not too many things worse in the fabrication world than grinding overhead. It's about as bad as it gets. Welding overhead isn't too bad once you can do it well. So grinding overhead sucks, and I think it's actually a blessing that I'm bald because I can wipe my head off. If I had hair, like really a shower would be the only thing you do. So anyway. I got it pretty good. I think I'm going to call it good enough. I'm going to call it a day for today. But I'm going to put the transfer case in tomorrow. All right, and to continue on this one, just click on the link there for Season 1, Episode 26, Part 2 in the bottom right.